This is Apparently, a podcast for parents. And I am your coach, Shawn Hopkins. Welcome to Apparently. This week we're beginning a new series after concluding our 8-week series on parenting kids through hurt. This new series is called What Does Love Owe? Over the next several weeks, I want to explore a question that has been sitting with me for quite a bit. It's a question that has shown up also in conversations with foster parents and adoptive parents and kinship caregivers, single parents, and just most of the parents that I know. The question is this: what does love actually owe? As parents, we spend years loving, teaching, protecting, guiding, encouraging, supporting, correcting, and preparing our children for the world. But eventually we run into some difficult questions. How do I know I've done enough? And what if my child struggles anyway? What belongs to me and what belongs to them? When does preparation become control? When does helping become rescuing? And maybe the hardest question of all, if my child struggles as an adult, does that mean I failed? And I don't have the perfect answers to any of those questions. In fact, this series exists because I'm still wrestling with them myself. As many of you know, I'm a foster and adoptive parent. I've spent years trying to help two boys. One is now a man, another is going through puberty, 11 years old. So how do I help these two boys heal, grow, and prepare for adulthood? And lately, I've been realizing that some of my deepest fears aren't really about parenting. They're about responsibility. How much of another person's life am I responsible for? How much can I influence? How much can I control? And when is it time to trust them with their own story? And this series isn't about having all the answers. It's about exploring the tension every parent eventually faces. The tension between loving deeply and letting go. Between helping and controlling, between responsibility and trust. So over the next several weeks, we're going to sit with those questions together. And today I want to start with the one that may sit underneath all the others. How do I know I've done enough? I'm going to start this with a confession. I don't know if I've done enough. And the frustrating thing is I don't know how I would ever know. Because when I think about my boys, I can always find one more thing I wish they were doing. One more skill I wish they had. One more lesson I wish I'd landed. One more conversation I wish we'd had. And maybe that's parenting, and maybe that's fear. Maybe it's both. But lately I've been wondering if I've been asking the wrong question. Because every time I ask, have I done enough? What I'm really asking is, will they be okay? A few months ago, my oldest son, who came to me through the foster system 6 years ago, he moved out. And some of you heard me talk about that in an earlier episode. At the time, I thought the lesson was about letting go. And part of it was. But recently I've realized there was another lesson underneath that one. One I wasn't ready to see yet. Not just because we weren't seeing eye to eye, and not just because he was angry at me. I was worried because there was a part of me that believed that if I stopped managing things, they might fall apart. There were still things I wanted him to do. Get a driver's license, save more money, work more hours, take certain steps towards adulthood. And if I'm honest, every time he would mention a problem, I was ready with a solution. If he didn't have enough money, I'd think about how he could work more hours. If he didn't like his job, I'd think about what job he could get instead. If transportation was the problem, I'd immediately jump into all the reasons he needed to get a driver's license. Problem wasn't that I was wrong. The problem was that I had already told him all of these things. More than once, multiple times. What I was really doing wasn't teaching. I was managing. Then something unexpected happened. After some time apart, we slowly started reconnecting again. I started sending him a simple text each evening. Just checking in. How was your day? Nothing dramatic. Nothing complicated. Over time, those conversations became normal again. And many nights they ended with, I love you. I love you too. And somewhere in those exchanges, I noticed something. I could breathe. Because the thing I feared wasn't happening. By letting go, he wasn't falling apart. He wasn't incapable of functioning. He wasn't sitting around waiting for me to tell him how to live. He was living his life, not perfectly, not the way I would do it, but he was pursuing things that mattered to him. And every time I see him, he seems happy, pretty happy. The realization hit me harder than I expected, because I think there was a part of me that quietly believed I was more responsible for his life than I actually am. And I don't mean that in a heroic way. I don't want to be anybody's savior. In fact, if I'm being honest, thinking of ourselves that way can become very arrogant. It assumes that if we stop holding everything together, everything falls apart. But that's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is a young man making his own decisions. Some good, some questionable. And you know who else did that? Me. Maybe part of parenting is accepting that our children are not projects to manage. They're people. People with agency. People with choices. People who will sometimes learn things the hard way. And that's where another realization has been growing in me. I don't think the goal is independence. I think the goal is agency. Independence says figure it out yourself. Agency says you can figure things out. You can make decisions. You can recover from mistakes. You can ask for help when you need it. And that's what I want for both of my boys. Not perfection, not dependence, not even happiness all the time. I want them to believe that they can move forward on their own. I want them to know where to turn when they get stuck. I want them to know they're capable. And maybe that's part of how we answer the question. How do I know I've done enough? Maybe the answer isn't found in whether our children struggle, because every person struggles. Maybe the answer is found in whether they know what to do when they struggle. Do they know how to ask for help? Do they know how to take the next step? Do they know they're loved? Do they know they're not alone? Those feel like better questions to me. Because if I'm honest, I don't know whether my sons will always be okay. I don't know what struggles they'll face, and I don't know what mistakes they'll make. I don't know what pain life has waiting for them. No parent gets those guarantees. Not foster parents, not adoptive parents, not biological parents, nobody. But I do have evidence. I have evidence that he and I are connected. I have evidence that we care about each other's lives. I have evidence that we share both good and the bad. I have evidence that we expect to hear from one another. I have evidence that we're grateful for each other. Maybe that's what I keep overlooking when fear takes over, because fear is always asking me to focus on the future. Fear wants guarantees. Relationships offer evidence. And right now, the evidence is pretty good. My boys know who to call when they need somebody. They know they are loved and they know I'm still here. I don't know if I've done enough. I don't know if I ever will. I suspect I'll keep asking that question for the rest of my life. But maybe the better question is, what evidence do I already have that my love matters? That's the question I'll leave you with today. Please remember, you are doing better than you think you are. So take good care.